That's fine. I'm glad you're not scared, but this is just the beginning and it doesn't bode well for our future. Nope, I'm definitely scared. Lots of people are scared. The regime is doing really scary things. It's totally normal in this moment in time to be scared, especially because they are trying to manipulate you with fear. What I am trying to say is that our feelings are not facts, and the regime is manipulating our feelings to get us to believe a false narrative, to give them more power than they have, to wrongly believe that they have already written the future and it is their terrible, awful, cruel, inhumane vision that will be enacted in the United States. We got to be real smart to the fact that the regime is intentionally manipulating our feelings. That's how propaganda works, right? That's actually how fascists succeed, is that they trick you into surrendering, right? They trick you into believing you've already lost. They get your emotions so escalated that you can no longer access your rational brain. You can no longer summon up the will in order to organize and carry out the kind of direct actions that are necessary to stop them. Fascists don't stop until you stop them. And so they are desperate to find a way for you to give up, because without your surrender, without your complicity, without your acquiescence, they are going to lose. That is why I'm always saying it doesn't matter that much what the regime does. What matters is how we choose to respond. This comment is also another really good chance for us to address extinction burst phenomena. The fact that we are living through an extinction burst period, which is why it is more important than ever that we don't let our feelings run us, that we check the facts, that we don't buy into the propaganda of the regime, that we continue to organize in earnest. Because in an extinction burst, it does look really bad. If you are only looking in the moment, if you can't see the forest for the trees, it looks really, really bad. Donald Trump and Pete Kegsbreath have started a war in Iran, all to appease Bibi, all to distract from the Epstein files, all to distract from the fact that Trump is desperate to fuck up the midterms because he knows Republicans are going to lose real big. In an extinction burst period, it can feel like everything is getting worse, because it is. The regime is increasingly desperate. This is their Hail Mary pass. This is their throw everything at the wall. This is the desperate attempt to get the people to be scared into submission, so they will try dramatically escalated repression tactics. They are frantic in this period because they know it's slipping through their fingers. The regime is incredibly unpopular. The opposition is growing. It's massive. I made a video the other day talking about how there were 40,000 protests in 2025 alone. Nobody likes what Donald Trump is doing. Nobody likes anything that the regime is doing. And the more they do, the more they activate people for resistance. They can tell that it's all crumbling, it's all disintegrating, it's all falling apart. The only thing that they can do is to continue to escalate their tactics. There's no point at which a fascist just lays down and gives up, right? You have to dethrone them, right? They're not going to be like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to stop this now because the people are opposed to us. Oh, the courts are overwhelmingly ruling against us, so we'll just decide to become a legitimate government and, care about upholding the rule of law. Like that's never going to happen. All fascists know, all authoritarians know, is threats, intimidation, and violence. So when they aren't getting their way, they will do more threats, intimidation, and violence, including starting wars in Iran, including sending our sons over to die in foreign wars of aggression. I don't know how many times I can say it. Donald Trump is a known quantity. These behaviors are really predictable. We should not be surprised by any of this. We should not be surprised that they are getting more and more awful. It feels more and more terrible. The injustice is increasing. And I actually mentioned this in a video the other day in From Dictatorship to Democracy. They talk about how when an oppressive government is able to stay in power, it's because they know not to do too many overtly brutal, terrible, repressive things all at once. If they are constantly cracking down, if they're dramatically increasing their tactics, it's going to activate the people for resistance. And that's what happens in an extinction burst. They're more and more frantic. They know that if they lose, in the midterms, an awful lot of fascists are going to prison. They know that the people are demanding the kind of reforms that we need, ending Citizens United, Supreme Court reforms, taxing billionaires out of existence, getting dark money, foreign money out of our politics. They know that the people don't want any of the things that they're doing now. They know that the people are insisting on justice and reforms, so they're really, really scared. We may be scared in this moment. That's because the regime is projecting all of their fear onto us. They want us to be more scared than they are because they know that their days are numbered if we continue to organize and we refuse to surrender. They are determined to pull out all of the vile, awful, evil stops so that we will lay down and surrender. And we're never doing that. We're not doing that. That's why I'm so confident that this is an extinction burst period and all of this is coming to an end, because we're not seeing more and more people be like, okay, I guess we're just going to have this for the future of this country. Okay, I guess we're just going to let Donald Trump and the Republicans do this. Okay, I guess I'm just going to be a serf under a technocrat billionaire for the rest of my life. Okay, I guess the future that I hoped for my children is one that I'm going to abandon. Americans aren't doing that. That is why I'm confident that this is an extinction burst, because if it was not, what we would see is that the repression would be working, is that more and more people would be surrendering, more and more people would be acquiescing, and we're getting the opposite. We're getting millions and millions and millions of people activated for resistance. So as long as we keep showing up, as long as we keep resisting, there's no scenario under which the fascist GOP and Donald Trump are successful here. But during an extinction burst, because things look worse and worse, because the regime is cracking down so hard, and if we're only looking at what's happening in the moment, we're not looking at the bigger picture, we're not understanding the dynamic that is at play here, we can start to engage in behaviors that are called forecasting, fortune telling, crystal balling, where we pretend that we can look into the future, and that because the regime has been escalating, now they will continue to escalate exponentially for all time. This forecasting is when you pretend that you can see a pattern, so you know that the trajectory is inevitable, and you pretend that you know what will happen in the future. We don't know yet what will happen in the future, and we have a job, we have a responsibility and a duty as American citizens in this moment to say, actually, we're going to take ownership of crafting what that future looks like. We are going to contribute our skills and our resistance to make sure we have a say in what happens next. We have a say in the future. If you are tempted to engage in forecasting, if you're tempted to believe you have a crystal ball and you can see into the future, please understand that the propaganda of the regime is working on you. Don't give them a victory in that way. And also, likewise, that is part of Donald Trump's strategy that he's used for a long time, which is called future faking, which is trying to trick you into believing that the fascists can write the future. Either you can predict the future and it's going to be more of this awfulness because it's awful right now, or that Donald Trump has already written the future and we are just hanging on for the ride and he's going to take us where he wants us to go. I'm not settling for, I'm not going anywhere that he wants us to go. I don't know about you. And when we let our feelings run us here, right, it's good to acknowledge that we're scared. It's good to acknowledge that what's happening now is really scary. It's good to acknowledge that what's happening now is awful, inhumane. It's good to acknowledge that the regime is just pure fucking evil, right? But then we don't let our feelings run us. That's why I'm always talking about DBT therapy, emotion mind, rational mind, wise mind. Acknowledging our emotions, letting our emotions push us to a place of action is great. Having our emotions paralyze us, having our emotions cause us to be illogical and to fall for future faking or to engage in forecasting behavior, to fail to recognize that we are in an extinction burst period, that's a vulnerability that we have to understand in ourselves and not fall prey to it, not fall victim to it. Here are the things that actually don't bode well for our future as the United States and as American citizens. Allowing the propaganda of the regime to work on us so that we feel hopeless, we despair, we decide to give up, we decide not to lend our skills and our labor and our time to the resistance movement. What would not bode well for the future of America is to see people laying down and giving up, surrendering. And you know what? I'm not seeing anybody do that. I am not seeing anybody do that. I am finding that so many people here in Portland and around the country are organizing, are coming to the forefront, are extending themselves, right? They're taking risks. They're stepping out in resistance for the first time in their lives. The American people, by and large, have never had to resist fascism before. And I am finding overwhelmingly, both in person and in online spaces, that people are choosing to act even though they are scared. They are speaking even though their voice shakes. That, to me, says that good things are in our future, that the future can belong to the American people, that the fascists are experiencing an extinction burst period right now, which is why they are escalating their behavior so dramatically, because they know they're in big, big trouble. And because the resistance is growing so rapidly, because people are fucking fed up with this shit and taking action, we're going to see more escalation from the regime. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. We need some radical acceptance about that. It will get worse because all fascists know how to do is escalate repression. That's okay. We know that that's going to happen. We can accept that that's going to happen. That's not going to deter us from organizing, from bringing more people into the movement and taking the actions, the steps that we need to take.